Good morning. We'll get started, everybody. Welcome to MLS Monday. So we have a treat for us today. This is not your typical MLS Monday. So normally MLS Mondays are driven on the technology tools, artificial intelligence, things that we talk about in the tech world, and not so much business. But as we end 2025 here in November, can't believe it's already 6 weeks to the new year. And most people are getting into one or two things. They're either getting the holiday season and they bought their tree and decorating it now that Halloween's over, or they're getting into business planning for the future. And as somebody who every year spent time both planning for the brokerage side of things and planning for my own business, what I know is if I didn't plan for the year, it was a big miss for me. If you don't have a plan, you're going into it, you tend to flounder. You don't have direction. You don't have those types of things. So we really want to focus on how do we plan for the new year. So with that, I got one of my favorite people in real estate to join us today, Neal Oates from Miami. He is a national speaker, a coach, a realtor broker, and has been in this space for a very, very long time. He used to, or he did at one time, actually presented when I had the brokerage. He would come in and do business planning every year. Something we did with all the agents, and he was a big part of that. And I remember sitting with agents at the end of the year and talking about how, their year, and they're like, I had the best year ever. And really, we're excited about the fact that they hit some of their milestones and things that they wanted to do. And a lot of that was because what Neal brought to the table with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Neal Oates. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Jason. Good to be here. Thank you for opening your home to me. Anytime I have the opportunity to come and hang out with professionals, I'm always excited. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at where we are, how we got here, and where we're going. Right. So I'm going to share some communication as we are in this view here. I'm also going to share my screen and look at what I call my win before you begin playbook. Now, you might not have the playbook available to you today, but Jason will make sure that everyone gets access to this win before you begin playbook. But the most important thing that I need you to do for only a handful of minutes is just to lock in here. We're going to be here for a good time, not for a long time. So let's be clear there. But I've got a number for you today, and that number is 44. 44 days left in 2025, right? Only 44 days. Jason mentioned 6 weeks. So we're here at the cusp of this thing. Like, hey, what does 2025 look like? Is there still time to win? The answer is yes, if. Yes, but, or it depends. So what we're going to do here, we're going to put some action behind the motivation. We're going to execute and not only think or plan. So our goal, what Jason has asked me to do, is to help us win before we begin. So a lot of what we're going to do, yes, we're going to look at 2026 and business planning, but it's my hope that before January 1st of 20, you know what? It's not even a hope. I know that if we do what we're going to talk about today, it is my knowledge, my belief, my faith that if we implement some actions here in a moment that's backed by science and research, we're going to win before we begin 2026. And that's all but a guarantee. So I'm going to share some of the things here on my screen. But here's the key. The first thing that we have to understand is, where are you currently? I don't know what your 2025 has looked like. I know what the industry, what the market, I know that the world has been crazy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your world has been crazy. For some of us, it's been a great year. Some of us, it's been our worst year ever, but there's still time to win because we still have today. We still have 44 days left in the year. So as I share my screen, I'm going to need each of you to really look inwardly. Don't focus on the interest rates. Don't focus on the market. Be excited about the things that Jason has shared with us with what's rolling out with Neo, new estate only. I absolutely love it. I've made it a part of my business for some time now. So we're going to look at this very first thing. And remember, there are three parts that we're going to look at today. Where are we? How did we get here? And where are we going? So in this Win Before You Begin workbook, playbook that you're going to receive, it's going to have this initial assessment in here. And this is not for me, ladies and gentlemen. This is for you to assess where you are. And so the very first question that I must ask you is, do you see yourself as a winner? Right? Regardless of what the year looks like, regardless of what your bank account, like, do you see yourself as a winner? And here's why this is important. Because the entire idea, for instance, Maxwell Maltz says that self-image sets the boundaries of individual accomplishment. Self-image sets the boundaries of individual accomplishment. In other words, we can only be what we see. So I need you, if the answer on today, November 18th, 2025, if that answer is no, the first thing we have to do before we can start winning the rest of this year or 2026, we have to see ourselves as a winner, whatever that looks like. And so if you haven't won more this year, I need something from you. I need you to go in and just do a self-assessment. Come in and answer the question honestly. What's the primary reason you didn't win more this year? When I say win, I could be talking about listings, buyers, contracts, market share, right? Peace of mind, whatever it is. Was it lack of clarity? Was it procrastination, fear? Or are you some of those that say, well, I don't know why I didn't win, Neal. That's why I'm here. So hopefully I can start to understand and move myself to the winner's circle so I can stand on that podium of victory. The next thing that I want to ask, the next question I'm going to pose to you is this one here. Do you typically root for the underdog or the champion? And do not put this in the chat, but here's what I want you thinking. Science and research says that most people root for the underdog. Why? Because they can never see themselves as being the champion. And that's what we want to break a little bit here today in our few minutes together. Because if you can never see yourself as a champion, subconsciously, you are going to self-sabotage when you start doing things that champions do. When you start experiencing wins and victories, you're going to say things such as, well, it's only a matter of time. Well, the market has to catch up with me. Well, no, not necessarily. I want you after today to be a conspiracy theorist. But here's what I want. Here's the conspiracy that I want you to believe in. I want you to believe that the universe is conspiring to help you win. I want you to believe that the universe is conspiring to move you into a space of champion. So the first homework, the first action item I'm going to ask you to do throughout the next 44 days, unless your team is the one playing, when there's an underdog versus the champion, root for the champion. Right now, that's unless your team is the underdog. But if you have no skin in the game, cheer for the champion. Your mind, your body needs to see you rooting for the one who is supposed to win. Why? Because I know when you get to the top, I need you to cheer for yourself. I want you to be in a position where you're used to thinking, I like dynasties, I like winners, I like champions. And therefore, we can identify with this thing. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We find what we're looking for. So if we look for championship action and behaviors and alignment, guess what we're going to find? We're going to find all of those things. One of my mentors, as we talk about winning before you begin, he shared with me, he says, Neal, your business is perfectly set up to produce the results that you're currently getting. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, much like it was for me almost 14 years ago. Neal, your business is perfectly set up to produce the results that you're getting. If you don't like the results, guess what we have to do? We have to change the system. We have to change the way that our businesses are set up. And that's why and how I can all but guarantee before these 44 days expire, we're going to be set up and ready for success because it is a system. And so here's what Stephen Covey says. He says, start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. So we are not here at the end of the year thinking about the end of this year. We're starting early with the end of 2026 in mind. And then here's what James Clear says. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. And so I want us thinking the fact that you are here today on this Monday morning, that is a vote for the person that you want to become, that you want to be successful, that you want to be a winner. Not only that you want to, that you have a desire, but you're putting action behind those desires. Here's what the next part of this little pre-assessment is. Have you experienced a significant victory in the past 3 months? And here's what I'm going to say. I know if you're here, you are a striver and achiever. You are growth oriented, that you want to be better. So your initial response will probably be, not really, not a significant victory. You might choose box number 3 and say, I'm not sure. I need you to really dive in and look. We find what we're looking for. There's probably a significant victory somewhere in your past 3 months. Now, if there is not, we're going to fix that today. We're going to do some things in a short amount of time that's going to produce significant wins and victories that's going to start this snowball effect that studies and research prove and support, that's going to help us be better. And then one of the last things that I'm going to ask you is, how often do you celebrate personal or professional wins? Whatever a win is for you. And the reason we start with this assessment is because we need to know where we are. This is our Waze or our GPS, our Google or Apple map, right? Where are you currently located? If we don't have our location turned on our device, will any app map work for us? No, it will not. So the first thing we must know is where we currently are, and that's what this assessment is. Now, some of us, we don't like where we are. But when I ask, how often do you celebrate personal or professional wins? The reason I ask that question is because it talks about what studies show. And here it is here. It says that the gold snowball effect, people who take action within the first 24 hours are 70% more likely to achieve long-term success. Early wins increase persistence by nearly 70%, according to a Columbia University study. And so study after study talks about those individuals who are coming in and reward themselves. So I'm going to ask you this. Do you have a reward system in place? If you do not have a reward system in place, it is highly likely that you are going to be 60 to 70% less successful than you could be. And here's what we know. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Because the reality is, you and I, we are all just 5-year-olds looking for the gold star. Right? I mean, we're just big 5-year-olds, right? So we still want that gold star. And so I need us, you need yourself, your future self needs you to create a reward system. And here's what's key about the reward system. It doesn't have to be huge, but it must be defined. So one of the things today, the next 24 hours, and we'll talk about exactly that idea that I just mentioned. People who take action within the first 24 hours are 70% more likely to achieve long-term success, and that comes from the University of Scranton. Harvard Business Review reports that early visible progress increases long-term performance by 76%. So I need us, we're going to talk about tracking and how we do that, but I need you today to say, I need a reward system for myself. Yes, I know you are a high achiever, that you're going to wait to celebrate until you hit your income goal, your production numbers, or your prospecting numbers. I need a reward system in place. defined, and then shared with what we call a success partner or an accountability partner. Because I know that you all will do for others what you will not do for yourself. If Jason is looking over your shoulder, or if you have to check in with him or your broker or someone on your team, you're just going to outperform. You're going to perform at a greater level than if you were only reporting back to yourself. So that's the first thing that I want to share with you. Now, when we talk about winning before we begin, it is not only talking about financial wins or in business. So now we're going to look at these 5 circles. If you have been in business, in real estate for any amount of time, you've probably heard of 5 circle fit or something like that. You've probably also seen someone who was successful in business, but the rest of their life was crumbling. And so we want to make sure that our success, that our wins, that our victories are not siloed, that it's only in real estate. There are going to be some family wins. So the 5 circles, we're going to look at our family, personal, spiritual, business, and then financial. And so here's what, when you get your win before you begin playbook, I need you. Well, what would an accomplishment look like in the family sector? And the reason we separate this is because some of us are doing fantastic in business and financial, but our family and our personal, they're suffering. And so I know that it's not Jason's heart or your leader's heart to come and say, yeah, she's a great agent. He's a fantastic producer. But boy, have you seen what happened to his family or his health or his spiritual life and whatever spiritual means to you. So I'm going to encourage you to start thinking in the 5 areas. And so here we have 5 blanks in the playbook for you to go in and say, here's what a successful year would look like if I could accomplish this in the next 12 months in my family, personally, spiritually, business, and financial. And ladies and gentlemen, just to clarify, the reason we have business and financial separate is because some of your financial goals will have nothing to do with business. It might have something to do with personal or family. Maybe some of your financial goals might intertwine with your spiritual if you're thinking about charitable giving. So I want you to go in and say, these are my top 5 in every area. And I need you to do a couple of things. First, we're going to look at where we are, right? We're going to look at where we are without judgment. So we're looking where we are, how we got here, and where we're going. So the first thing we're going to do when we do that assessment, we're going to look at where we currently are without judgment. That's number 1. Don't say, man, I'm so dumb. I can't believe it's that. No, we're not doing that. We're just looking at where we currently are. The second thing, when we look to the past of how we got here, we're going to look at how we got here without blame. We're not pointing the finger. We're not blaming the market, interest rates. We're not blaming administration, our broker, our buyers. We're not blaming any of that. So we look at where we are without judgment. We look at how we got here without blame. And then we look at where we're going, and we do that without restraint or limitation. Okay. And the reason I bring this up, some of you, when you look at what would you like to accomplish this year, this part of where we're looking forward, you're going to say, well, limited belief, limited thinking. You're going to use SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable. And then many people say realistic. We're just going to say relevant. Some of your relevant goals need to be unrealistic, right? They can be relevant, but not realistic. And then they're going to be time bound. So I really want us thinking right here. Where are we without judgment? How do we get here without blame? Where are we going without restraint or limitation? So that's what I want us thinking. So after, and ladies and gentlemen, this is a proven system. So when Jason was talking about the agents at the brokerage and how it was working, like my coaches, mentors for 20 years have given me this system, and it works every single time. That's why I'm confident to share this with you. So now we have our goals. What would look good for the for 2026 and beyond in 5 areas of our life. This is where now it gets good because this is the Warren Buffett method. The Warren Buffett method says we're going to take our top 7 goals, ladies and gentlemen. Top 7 goals from, so now here's my ask. My ask is, please do not let all 7 of your goals be financial or business. That's where we go. I know we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners. We think that if 1 through 7 are financial and business, everything else falls in line. Studies prove otherwise, right? This is why we see super successful individuals checking out early because they've made a eternal or permanent decision based on temporary circumstances. So here's how the Warren Buffett method works. We're going to look at those 5 areas. We're going to look at personal, business, financial, spiritual, and then also it was family. We're going to look at those 5 areas and we're going to just choose our top 7 goals. And then we're going to choose a category. Is it financial, personal, spiritual, business, or family? And we're just going to put the goal that is in the top 7. And here's the beauty. We have to give a deadline of that. Now, time bound, if we're using SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, not realistic, and time bound, let's just put a deadline there. By what deadline would we like to see this goal accomplished? And we're only choosing 7 of those, right? So we might have 25 on our initial list, but then we're going to choose our top 7. Maybe 3 of them are going to be business or financial. 1 might be spiritual. 1 could be personal. And then we might have none on the family. My ask is at least have 1 on the family, 1 on the personal. Like that's just what research shows keeps us going when all else is going wild. When they're talking about 50-year mortgages and interest rates and government shutdown, all of that crazy stuff, the family and the personal typically pulls us through. So that's the first part of the Warren Buffett method. The next part is take from these 7. We're going to choose our 3 banner goals. The banner goals are, if these 3 things happen, if they became a reality in our lives in 2026, it would be a phenomenal year. Now, we are not choosing these 7 and these 3. We're only choosing 3 primary banner goals. 2 of them might be financial, 1 might be business. And here's what I want. Here's what studies show. We need number 1 to be your number 1 goal. Number 2 to be number 2 and number 3 to be number 3. Now we're going to work on them concurrently to get all 3. But here's why we choose our top 3 goals. Everything we do 44 days out from the end of 2025 through 2026 are going to be focused on our top 3 goals. And if not, we're going to have to ask the question, do we delete it, delegate, or double down? And so we'll talk about that 3D system here in a moment. So we've looked at the first part where we do the assessment to see where we are. We've gone and put in maybe that reward system so that we have defined it so that now we can say there's going to be some rewards for my success. We've looked at the 5 areas of our life where we're going to have maybe 4 to 5 different goals that would make that area a significant victory or win. Now, with the Warren Buffett method, ladies and gentlemen, we've taken those 25 and turned it into 7. Those 7 focused down on 3. And so this is where it starts to get fun and exciting. Why? Because this is the system that works. So we have not even done the hard work yet, but we've done the scary necessary. That thing asking, well, how much is TikTok? Like, is it really a goal? Is it important for me to have X number of followers? Or are we saying peace of mind, family time, production amount, right? Whatever that is, you must be honest with yourself. And then I'm going to go ahead and let you know the end goal is for us to have some action items that we can share with our accountability partners, or as I like to call them, success partners. So that's where we are. I do not see, I'm going to stop for one moment. I do not see any questions that we have, no comments. I do see that the playbook was sent in the email, and he did put it also in the chat again. So that's what I want to make sure. If you all did not get that, make sure that you have access to that or ask some questions. So I don't see any questions. So Jason, I'm just going to keep going, sir. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's where, for some of us, this is where it gets very real. This is where we're going to have to assess where we are, how we got here, and we're excited about where we're going possibly, but not necessarily. Especially if we look back and we say, well, I have a history of failed New Year's resolution. That's because we didn't have a system behind it. All right. But this is where now we really dive into that systematic approach to winning before we begin. Here's what happens now that we have these three banner goals, ladies and gentlemen, from the Warren Buffett method. This is where we count the cost of victory, because everything has a cost, right? So it costs to win. It also costs to lose. So here's where one of my favorite quotes comes. It says, "For which of you intending to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost to see whether or not you have enough to finish?" Right? Have you counted the cost? Because right now, we have said this is the thing we want. These are the three towers we want to build. But now we go into what? The counting of the cost. Whatever that first banner goal is. And the process, the system is going to be the same for all three of our banner goals. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's what I'm going to go out on a limb to say. I believe from personal experience and those that I have coached and trained, if you work this system, you are going to accomplish at least two of the three banner goals before the end of 2026. Then what do? We go back and reassess and ask, are my top seven still my top seven? I have three. That means I've accomplished two. I could go and choose two more, or have my priorities changed? But right now, we're counting the cost. And here's how we count those costs. We come in, we write our banner goal right here, number one. And then we ask, who do you need to become? What does the person who has accomplished this goal, what do they look like? What do they drive? How do they dress? How do they speak? What types of consultations or clientele or customers do they work with? What do they read or watch? What time do they wake up? And why do we ask that? Because we hear about be, do, have, be, do, have. But most of us, we want to have, have. But in order to have this thing, we must do some certain activities that can only be done by becoming the person that does the activity. So who do you need to become in order to achieve your banner goal 1, 2, or 3? The next one here is we talk about habits. And so when we look at habits, we look at this idea of that behavioral psychology shows it is 3 times more effective to replace a habit than simply stop one. And here's what I really want you to see from Duke University. A Duke University study reveals that 45% of daily actions are driven by habit, not decision making. So 45% of our daily activities, actions are driven by habit, not decision making. Why do I bring that up? We're going to look at some habits that we need to start, stop, or then maybe even expand. So when you realize who you need to become, the first question is, what new habits, disciplines, or behaviors do I need to start? What are these things? Maybe I need to be on these MLS Monday trainings, right? Maybe that's a new habit. Maybe this is your first one, right? And then we're going to take a break for the holidays. Then we're going to come back, okay? So maybe that's the first one. Could that be a new habit? Maybe your new habit is going to be setting a prospecting time to actually write notes, make phone calls, do pop buys, something like that. Maybe a new habit could be to check in with a success partner or an accountability partner. But what do we need to start? For some of us, we don't need to start anything. And I want to be clear. I need you to eat the meat and spit out the bones, okay? So as I'm sharing with you, some of you are already doing some of this stuff and we just might need to tweak or refine just a little bit. So you might not need to start any new habits. Maybe you have healthy habits that you need to expand. Maybe you are planning your week and sticking to your calendar. Maybe you're prospecting on Tuesday and Thursday. What if you expanded that? What if you reached out to more of your database? What if you researched the market more and did more homework? What are those healthy habits, disciplines, or behaviors that you need to expand? We want to put this down because we want to write the vision down and make it plain. And then for some of us, there are some poor habits that we need to stop. And this does not mean that they are bad habits. They're just not conducive to us achieving our goal. I believe in the power of social media when we apply it properly. I know that Jason has gone through and trained a lot on AI. He is not training on AI just for us to bog down and give ourselves more work. He's saying, hey, maybe your bad habit is you're spending too much time over here in social or creating or clipping or doing all this. Let's leverage that so we can stop the bad habit of just senseless scrolling and increase the habit of effectively marketing or doing research. And then now I can prospect. Now I can do those phone calls. Now I can actually get in the market, start showing properties, right? So what are the poor habits that I need to stop? What are those behaviors that are not conducive to growth and whatever those wins in those 5 areas or our 3 banner goals? So that's going to be key for us that we look at the new habits, the current habits, and the poor habits that we need to stop. And here's what I want to clarify. Some of the habits that are necessary for banner goal number 1 will be detrimental to banner goal number 2 or 3. So you have to ask, how important is this goal, this habit, or this behavior, right? For instance, some people want to get physically fit as banner goal number 1, but then also they know that they want to increase their sales and production as banner goal number 2. So some of it might be working out more, eating differently, might be a new goal or new habit or current habit that they need to expand. But then they also have to expand their knowledge, their training, their information, and the application when it comes to doing more volume. And so some of it, the working out part or the eating, is going to require time. So we have to ask which is most important on our way, on our path to victory. So we're doing the same system, same process for banner goals 1, 2, and banner goal number 3. So in your workbook, your Win Before You Begin playbook, you'll see that. Now, here's where here's where it really breaks down. Goal number 1 is that banner goal number 1. Because now we must start looking at the mile markers on the journey. Most of us, we look at our year in terms of, did I hit my goals this year? Many of us have not even looked at our goals since we set them in January or November, December of last year, right? And so now we've never had intermediate destinations. A great thing, a great way for us in real estate, and that I encourage many of my clients or my agents to do, is to possibly have intermediate destinations that are quarterly at a minimum, right? So there are some things that we must look at quarterly, right? Some of us have looked at our sales volume at the end of in November and we're like, Jason, I'm not going to hit my goals. I don't know what's going to happen. How do I win my year? Well, we can't win per se now because we're too far behind the 8 ball. So at a minimum on the goal, I'm going to encourage you to, if you have a year-long goal, I'm going to have encourage you to have your destination, and then the win will be at the end of each quarter. So that when we get to the start of Q4, we can say, are we on pace? Are we behind pace? Are we ahead of pace? Or are we not even on the road at all? Right? And so I believe this is going to be one of the most valuable pieces. And this is where we've broken the entire journey down into step by step mile markers, let's say. For us servant individuals, for those who are doing this hard, difficult thing for real estate, you're not doing this because you chose an easy path. I dare say you probably aren't even doing this solely for yourself. You're probably here today because you know that someone else's future is going to be impacted by whether or not we win 2026, whether or not we show up for the last 44 days of 2025. And so we must ask the question, who is impacted? So put some names to these, like, or you could put clients, customers, prospects, yes, but put a name. Who is impacted if we accomplish this goal? Now, I also want you to see on the right side here, is it a benefit or a detriment? Is it going to be beneficial or detrimental to that individual? What do I mean by that? There are some people who are going to be negatively impacted by your success over the next 12 months. Those people who put their thumb on you, who are waiting for you, who need all of your time, who knock and say, hey, or call you and say, hey, you got time to chat? For you to reach your goal, you're not going to be able to be available as much as Joe wants you to be available. And so your success might be detrimental to Joe, but it might be beneficial to those that are in your household. It could be beneficial to that charity or that organization that you're going to have resources to give to. And then here, I don't know if you all saw the recent report that came out. It was either Florida Realtors or NAR that talks about that going forward, from this day forward, that coaches, mentors are no longer a nice to have, that they are an absolute necessity. I had one of my proteges send me the article this morning and say, Neal, thank you so much for your mentorship. Why? Because we must have someone who is further along in the journey to show us the way. And this is the type of mentor, coach, or expert that I need you to find. I need you to find a tour guide, not a travel agent. A travel agent will sell you on the idea of here's how you do, here's what you do. When you get there, go see this person, right? They've never really been to this place called success. They don't have a track record. They're the type of people that like to tell you what you should do, but they've never either seen it done or helped others get there. The tour guide, on the other hand, they're going to be the one that says, here's what we're going to do. Yes, I've been here before. I know where the challenges, the pitfalls, where the headache is. I know a shortcut, meaning that it's a mind game, right? I know that once you get to mile marker about 19, that you're going to be fatigued. I know that when the summer comes and you don't have that number of pendings in the pipeline, you're going to get frustrated. Here's how we're going to get through this. And then who do you need and when do you need to get them by? Remember, Brian Tracy always says that a goal without a deadline is nothing but a dream. So yes, we want deadlines for our intermediate destinations, but also when are you going to reach out, contact, have this relationship in place? For some of us, it's going to be about research or resources. How do you get the information? I know that Jason mentioned Neo rolling out at the end of this year. And then the training is going to be at the beginning of the year. So for some of you, the resource that you're going to need for new construction and new inventory, we know where we're going to get it. We just have to wait and be patient. But maybe you could be doing some research, not so much on the product itself, but what about the customer or client base that you're going to be able to touch and impact based on the resources that you're going to have. And so that's why I'm excited that you all are here, right? Because now you are the people, the individuals, the professionals that come in and say, what do I need to know? Right? What's going on in the marketplace? Should I really do research here or there? Once we have the research, that's going to lead us to the resources that we need. maybe I need to get better at doing business from my phone. Maybe I need to leverage the AI that I have been pushing back on Jason against because, yeah, I'm in the industry. It's always worked this way. Times are changing and we don't want to be obsolete. And then here's the one that if anyone would benefit from this is you all who are here today. And that's going to be the training or self-development needed to accomplish goals number 1, 2, and 3. You don't come here on a Monday because you have nothing else to do, especially 44 days away from January 1st. You're here because you are self-development, you are goal-oriented, and you are a driven individual. So what do you need to improve upon? What training do you need? And then where are you going to get this? And here's the beauty. Once you have your plan in writing and you go to your success partner, your mentor, your coach, and say, well, here's what I believe, they immediately want to start helping. Why? Because they've seen that you've done the work. You aren't coming to them and saying, yeah, I want to do X amount in production next year. Where should I start? With a plan. If you bring them this plan, if you show them your filled out plan on the computer or face to face as you're having a consultation, what are they going to say? Oh, I like this. Maybe this time frame is unrealistic. I know a better way to acquire that information. I can send you a link. Have you considered that you need different research? And this is where the best in our industry and the best amongst us, this is what we're doing all day, every day. So now that we have the banner goals, we now know what we need to implement to actually execute. This is where it gets even better. So let's go. Execution agenda. Ideas are great, but here's what the best amongst us do. They turn thoughts into actions faster. So I want you all to see all we've done is we've taken these huge ideas that are floating around somewhere in our head. We've put them on paper. We've said, do we really like this? And we've just had to make the choices. So it's not because we have poor goals or that we are incapable. Most of the time, we've just never had, as Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, definiteness of purpose. So you have accomplished everything that your business or that your heart has intentionally set out to do. We just had the wrong intentions. We didn't write it down and make it plain, make it visible. So now here's what we look at. We're going to look at 24, 10, 30, 90. 24, 10, 30, 90. I've used this for almost 2 decades, and it all but guarantees that I'm going to have a great 24, 10, 30, and 90. And that's why I'm passionate about this, because if we're going in the wrong direction, guess what? We're probably going to find out in 10 days versus 10 months, right? If we're going in the wrong direction, we're going to find out in a month instead of 7 or 8 months down the line, okay? So action items. Remember, we talked about this, the goals snowball effect from the University of Scranton. People who take action within the first 24 hours are 70% more likely to achieve long-term success. That comes from the University of Scranton. So here's how we built the system. Here's how we built the win before you begin playbook. What are 3 to 4 actions that you need to take in the next 24 hours? Right? For some of us, we need to go in and just do the assessment at the very beginning. We need to change our mindset. Maybe it's going to be you getting some affirmations. Identify as a winner. Maybe it's going to be to set up your reward system. Okay? Maybe we just need to figure out what the heck we want. Maybe we need to turn on our location on our device or our life, where we say, well, for the first time in my real estate career, I'm going to really assess where I am. What production did I do? What number of transactions? Where is my business coming from? That might be your action item for the next 24 hours. And yes, I mean 24 hours. So 24 hours from now. So before noon tomorrow on Tuesday, I need you to do something, right? Why? 70% more likely for success. We immediately separate ourselves from the mediocre many and we join the ranks of the elite few just by doing one thing in 24 hours. After 24 hours, we're going to come in. What are the actions that we can take towards our goals 1, 2, and 3 in the next 10 days? There are going to be some things that once you start building momentum, once you break inertia, it's going to pull you through to the next thing. There are going to be some 24-hour goals that once you accomplish that goal and you actually do that thing, you're going to say, yeah, I didn't get the feeling that I thought. Let me really reevaluate. Is this going to pull me further through towards my 10 days? And what we're going to do is we're going to build our 24, our 10, 30, 90, and then I'm going to share what to do next. So we're going to look at our actions in the next 24 hours, actions in the next 10 days for the 3 goals. Then we're going what? 30 days, 90 days. And here's why this is important. If I can do something 24 hours, then have a goal that I'm working towards in the 10 days, that's where Harvard Business Review reports that early visible progress increases long-term performance by 76%. So if we do something in 24 hours, 70% more likely. If we do something and if we can see visible progress, short term, what happens? 76%. We're all but guaranteeing wins for us as we do that. Okay. So then 30-day goals and 90-day goals. And this is where our 24, 10, 30, 90, that's what we're sharing with our accountability partner. That's what we're going to come in and say, hey, success partner, hold me accountable to this. And I'm going to encourage you to write the goal and then put the deadline date up here. So goal number 1, what's 30 days? So if we're going to do 30 days, we could just maybe write it at the top right here. What's 90 days from here? And then check back in. And so here's what happens at the end of 90 days, ladies and gentlemen. We just start the process over again from right here. At the end of your 90 days. And so for us, if we start today, we're not going to wait. Do not wait for January 1 to say, yeah, I remember what Neal said. I remember Jason had Neal come in. Now I'm going to start. No, we are not. We're starting today. So in the next 24 hours, we're going to put our date right here. And then in the next 10 days, 30 days, 90 days, and at the end of 90 days, so we won't be in March when we get there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be in February. We're going to come back and say, what's the next step? At the end of our 90 days, we're going to come in and we're going to say, what now do I need to do in the next 24? What do I need to do in the next 10, the next 30, next 90? It's not difficult. It's not complicated. It's simple. It's just not easy. Why? Because it forces us to look in the mirror and say, I have not done that thing. Do I really want this idea of what success is, or does it just sound nice on a bumper sticker? So that's the entire win before you begin playbook. That's the entire process, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's what I want to encourage you with. A couple of things that I do want to share with you right here. And it comes from the Psychological Bulletin. A 2022 study published in the Psychological Bulletin found that people who catalog their wins, even micro wins, experience a 61% boost in motivation and a 45% boost in confidence. Right now, in November of 2025, I think all of us can use a 61% boost in motivation and a 45% boost in confidence, right? That's just the way I think. I know I can. And then it talks about here where Darren Hardy, author of the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, The Compound Effect, small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals a radical difference. Right. And so Jason puts this together on Mondays because he knows it's a small, smart choice if we're consistent with it. How do I know Jason believes in consistency? Because he gave us a schedule of the future. He has helped us set ourselves up to be consistent. And then we just have to be consistent over an extended amount of time, and a radical difference will take place. We'll see the result. Now, unfortunately, if we do small, wrong choices consistently over time, we're going to be met with results that we do not desire. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you're here already today. You've done the hard part. You showed up when others have chosen not to be here. You have a system now that's in your inbox. All you have to do is execute, do the hard work, do the necessary scary. And if you do that, you're going to look back before December 31st, 2025 ends, and you're going to say, I've got some victories under my belt. I've already won 2026 before it began. How do I know? Because I've identified some good behaviors that I need to start, some behaviors that I'm already doing that I need to expand. I have eliminated some poor habits and behaviors that I was doing, and I have a plan for the next 24 hours, 10 days, 30 days, and 90 days to move me closer to success that I can share with my success or accountability partner. The system is simple, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's up to us to do the work. And I believe that if you're here with us today, that you are the caliber of professional who maybe just needed the system so that you can implement and execute. So Jason, that's what I have for us today. I'm hoping that you all found it valuable. I do have time for questions if Jason is open to that, but I'm here and it has been a pleasure. This has been the system that I've used for almost 2 decades to win my unfair share amount of chances here in life. So I thank you all for your for the privilege of your time.
I don't see any questions on this. Um, yeah, no question. So, again, Neal, thank you so much. I know this stuff works, and the reality is we've got to implement it. And it's so critically important. The market, always shifts and changes, but I think that if you consistently have a system that you can plan around, you can meet and pivot with those different changes, market conditions, et cetera. So, do appreciate you joining us today. Um, if there's nothing else, you
Jason,
guys, yep,
one thing I do want to say, and you were
yep.
talking about the market changing and all this stuff going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage you all, listen to the right voices as we go through 2025, as we finish these last 44 days of the year. Make sure that you're listening to the right voices and put your earmuffs on for everything else, right? There are a lot of things that we should not be paying attention to. I know that Jason loves AI and tech, but Jason he does not share everything that he hears about AI and tech because some of it is of no value to you all as members. So this is why I'm going to encourage you, listen to the right voices. Find those coaches, mentors, those experts who have done the hard work of filtering on your behalf. So I don't go to Jason and ask him, what's the latest tech? What's the latest AI? I go to Jason and ask him, what should I consider implementing into my business that you've already scrubbed? Right? Because otherwise, I know Jason is just inundated and he's hearing it. Now he's like, all right, I can ignore this voice. I can ignore this product, this service right now because it's new, it's different, but it's not beneficial. So as we finish the year, especially now, people are going to have more time to talk, ladies and gentlemen. That does not mean that you have to or need to listen to everyone who has time to talk because we're going to be busy planning our year. We're going to be busy not only planning, but executing our plan 40 days, 35 days, 20 days before others even think about it. So they're thinking about resolutions. We're thinking about our system, our plan, and executing that before they even open up their planner. Right. And so just make sure that you're listening to the right voices. And if you don't know who those voices are, sit down and have a conversation with someone. Ask them, well, hey, well, or share. These are my goals. How do I get there? But we all need mentors, coaches, experts that we can bounce ideas off of. And if you don't have one, find one immediately because it's going to be a huge impact on your business. Thank you so much, Jason.
All right, everybody, have a safe holiday. Neal, you have a safe holiday week. Next week, I guess it is. And yes, only 44 more days left. So kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
Kind of,
Thank you so much, sir.
all right, thanks.